We move to the hate list, which is kicked off by George Pickens. Kind of a double whammy here, Jay, where Justin Fields is the starter. That hurts their pass game, obviously helps their run game. Then also he's going to be dealing with Patrick Surtain, which no receiver wants to run into that.
Exactly. The one thing the Broncos have going for them right now is Patrick Surtain, who is a top 2, top 3 cornerback in the NFL. And like this is the type of offense in particular that you like Surtain going up against, because outside of George Pickens, there's not really that much else. Like Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, not many other options in the pass game. Justin Fields as a thrower, clear downgrade from Russell Wilson in terms of what you want if you have George Pickens on your team. And also, like, what do you think is going to happen in this game? The Steelers' defense is going to dominate. Do you think they want Justin Fields to drop back 40 times? No, Arthur Smith is going to run the ball a ton, and they're going to lean on TJ Watt.
Yeah, exactly. To your point about Surtain, DK Metcalf, who faced him a lot last week in the game against Seattle, 3 for 29. When you hold DK Metcalf 3 for 29, I think you can handle George Pickens. Certainly fast, and he can always potentially get deep for one, but can Fields hit him? Again, he's my wide receiver 35. I know he caught the long one against the Falcons, but this is a different animal, by the way. Over under in this game, 36.5, which is the lowest total on the Week 2 slate. I just want to try to avoid this game for fantasy purposes. Russell Wilson revenge game, and he's not going to be there. He's going to be out there, right? Denver, Pittsburgh. It's Russell Wilson revenge game. Everyone's talking about that. Let's ride.
It's a big one.
Let's ride.
Christian,
what would be the alternate to let's ride?
Giddy up.
Giddy up, yeah. Giddy up. Let's rodeo.
Yeah.
Let's gallop.
Yeah. Let's clear Russ's contract off our books.
And regret the worst trade in NFL history.
Yeah. Let's wait.
Second worst.
Second worst. There's one that's still lingering. It actually has to do with our next talking point a little bit. Christian Kirk on the hate list. He's got the Browns defense. That's something that is kind of going okay for Cleveland. It wasn't great against Dallas, but they still have a talented defense, Matthew, to match up against Christian Kirk. And Brian Thomas Jr. has become a thing even quicker than a lot of people imagined.
He looked great, but the offense was inconsistent there. Here's my concern about Christian Kirk, and I was wrong on this. Christian Kirk was somebody I liked in the preseason, and I'm hoping it gets better. But Christian Kirk played the lowest snaps. He had the third highest. He played 70% of the snaps. Brian Thomas and Gabe Davis both played more snaps than Christian Kirk. That's a concern. Immediately, two guys that are brand new to the team, and they both played more snaps than Christian Kirk. He obviously competes for targets in the middle of the field with Evan Ingram, by the way. And since the start of last season, there are only 3 teams in the NFL that allow fewer yards to the slot than the Cleveland Browns. They're really good in terms of their slot defense. 5th lowest catch rate to the slot in Week 1, and that includes some routes from CeeDee Lamb. Again, the Browns, not a great Week 1 for them, but one of the things they do well is play good defense, especially in the middle of the field. So yeah, Christian Kirk outside my top 40 this week against the Browns.
Yep. So yesterday, Matthew, on my day off, I was on True Media watching all the routes that Brian Thomas ran. So I'm a cool guy with a cool life. And Brian Thomas is just constantly open. And I think last week he got a little bit underrated because the Jags just never had the ball, and also because he got mugged by Jalen Ramsey in the end zone on a DPI.
Yep.
If he just is allowed to catch that ball and there's no DPI, he goes 5 for 88 with 2 touchdowns, and we're declaring Brian Thomas as clearly the number 1 guy for the Jags. But because it's 4 for 47 and 1 touchdown and they lose, no one's talking about it. Brian Thomas, I think he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver for Trevor Lawrence, and that's bad news for Christian Kirk.
It really is. And just to your point, Connor, I don't know but he looked the part.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all been there. And it's also, that's kind of the story of his life, because he was in an LSU offense where he had over 1,000 yards, but he was sharing targets with Malik Neighbors. Yeah. So it's this guy has just always had the talent to be the guy, but he needs to go to the place where he can be, and this is the place.
Yeah. The other thing too is he runs a diverse route tree. He's not just running go routes. He's using slants, deep crosses. He's doing quick outs. He's doing it all.
And it's 4.3 speed at 6'3".
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem is, and I know this sounds, I'm almost positive this is a Bill Simmons thing, but I feel like one of the other issues with Brian Thomas is just it's a snoozy name.
And he's a quiet guy.
It needs to be BTJ.
Well, right. Or just, I remember, I feel like I could be wrong on this, but I feel like I had this conversation with Simmons on his podcast once where we were talking about this, and we were talking about how I've done his podcast for years and years and years, but I remember Chris Johnson, why aren't we making a bigger deal of Chris Johnson? He didn't have a fun nickname. Then eventually it was CJ2K, but again, Malik Neighbors, that's a great name, right?
Great name.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, great name. Devontae Adams, that's a great name. Brian Johnson is whatever. Brian Johnson's,
Brian Thomas.
Brian, sorry.
See, that's the
point.
point.
Yeah, exactly. No, Brian Thomas is like the assistant manager at Office Max. Like, you know what I mean? Like, right?
Shout out to Office Max.
Yeah, just whatever, right? I'm just,
It's got to be BTJ, right?
Yeah,
You're
It's got to be something. Yeah, exactly. There's just, I feel like you need a nickname, like OBJ, right? Odell, like, just think about some of the big wide receivers, right? Marvin Harrison's sort of a snoozy name, but because it's a famous name, because his father.
Right. Yeah. Justin Jefferson has the Jay Jettis thing.
Yeah.
And also Justin Jefferson, there's an alliteration. There's a bit going on.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp, great name. Puka Nacua, great name.
Right.
Yep.
Jamar Chase, great name. Chris Olave,
Have we
great
even
name.
said CD Lamb?
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable name.
That's a great name. That's a great name. It's
true.
Like, by the way, Matthew Berry, terrible name. A very snoozy name, very kind of middle of the pack. Sounds a lot like people that are more famous than me. When I first started writing and Matthew Perry on Friends was, and Friends was blowing up, it was awful because like you would call and you'd try to make an airline reservation, and you'd be like, and you tell your name, and you're like, oh, Chandler, Friends? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. If I was on Friends, I'm probably not,
someone else
waiting
is
on
doing
hold
this
for
for
2
me.
hours,
Yeah.
trying to save $200 on a middle seat or whatever.
Not Perry. Berry, like a strawberry.
Yeah, exactly. Strawberry like a bear. And there's a lot of different, I've written about it before, but there's a lot of different people named Matthew Berry that have, there was a congressman for a while, there's a famous casting director, there's a very famous actor, a British actor named Matt Berry, who, he was like in the SpongeBob movie and like Dark Shadow, like there's a,
goodness.
What We Do in the Shadows, like he's like a singer and as well comedian, very famous. I get all of his residual checks. It's awful. Like I've had this battle with the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild. I constantly get his. I'm assuming he gets my residuals too, which are lesser than his. But whatever. And I constantly sending me and my wife we're constantly like, this isn't us. Like, I don't know what got forwarded to us. Like, he lives in England. Like, Anyway, I have Matt Berry's address in England if anyone wants it.
Yeah. You trade just some fancy.
We'll keep that one off the air.
Yeah, no, exactly. Anyway, so it's a bad name. But let's go to a good name, but with a bad matchup. Cortland Sutton.
Absolutely,
Cortland
great
Sutton's
name.
a good name.
Good
Yeah,
segue.
Good name.
Strong name.
Good segue.
Bad matchup. Quarterback that doesn't seem to be throwing the ball more than 5 yards. One time he did on tape. Sutton just went through Sutton's hands. It was just not a good all-around.
Yeah, and for all we want to talk about Patrick Surtain and how great he is. So Joey Porter Jr., no slouch at all. Drake London had a 2 for 15 line against Porter Jr.
Drake London.
Drake
London.
That's a great name.
The
Come on.
detective.
That's a,
Scotland Yard.
Exactly.
Drake London.
Detective Drake London, 1,000%. Yeah, give Drake London like a dog and a mystery case, and he's solving it.
Right.
Like he's like maybe it's a cartoon where the dog talks to him, something like that, like a little Scooby-Doo sort of thing.
Drake London actually arrested Jack the Ripper back in the day.
Yeah, Drake London's a great name.
Well, if Michael Penix is in place soon, he might have to actually
another
take
good
part in
name,
his
by
career.
the way. Michael Penix.
Yes.
That's another good name.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. Connor Rogers is a good name.
It's okay.
Connor's a good name.
Thank you.
Strong name.
Strong name. Better than Matthew Berry.
Yeah,
it's a better
true.
name than.
Connor Rogers is a minus 50,000 favorite head-to-head against your name.
1,000%. Oh, 100%. I have of everyone that appears on the show, I have the worst name. 1,000. Jake Croucher's a better name than Matthew Berry. Lawrence Jackson a better name than Matthew Berry.
Denny Carter.
Maybe I got
You
it.
found your
I got
matchup.
Denny
You
beat.
found your
I got
range.
one. That's fair enough. I got Denny beat. Yeah.
All right.
So Cortland Sutton doomed this week.
Anyway, yeah, Cortland Sutton's outside my top 40. We're off the rails.
How about Christian Watson, Jay? I mean, the Christian Watson experience last week, you hope for that touchdown, but now with Malik Willis, your odds fall off a cliff.
Not going to produce a Jordan Love? How about Malik Willis instead?
Two good names, by the way.
Yes.
Jordan Love and Malik Willis, both good names.
Yeah, Malik Willis might have him beat for name, but not for quarterback talent in the NFL, I don't think. I think that, look, there were already 4 receivers on Green Bay. I'm not sure you feel good about any of them this week. If you want one, I think it's Jaden Reed, because 1, I think he might just be the best receiver on the Packers on talent, and then 2, just with the short stuff, with the creative stuff, with the gadget kind of plays, feel more confident in him as opposed to Malik Willis throwing 50-yard bombs down the sideline to Christian Watson.
Talked about this on yesterday's show as well. Malik Willis has attempted 15 deep passes, 15 yards or more downfield in his career. He's completed 2 of them. 2 for 15.
Not great.
That is not great.
Dominate this NFL season with a Fantasy Life Plus subscription. Get weekly rankings, start sit advice, DFS analysis, and betting tools. Use promo code SEASON20 for 20% off. Go to fantasylife.com/rotoworld to learn more.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.